Today, we will be ranking every Pokemon anime. As you can see down at the bottom here, we have each anime. We have it going through not by season to season. I could have done that, although I don't want to do that because I want to go through it via each generation, because that's how I remember watching them, and that's how I consumed them as content originally. We go through Gen 1. Yes, you have like the, what was it? Oh, God, I can't think of the name of the tournament it was in. Whatever name they gave to the first generation of like that I gotta find, give me 1 second, I gotta figure it out. I know I have it right here. Where is it? What's it called? What's it called? The Indigo League. That's what it's called. The original series, I do believe the actual like proper series name for it was the Indigo League. So you have that one, and then you also have like the Orange Islands. I'm combining those two. It's just all Gen 1. It's just all the original series. Let's just throw that all together and have that be the original one. Then for this second one, we have all of Johto. It's like Johto, Champions, Master Quest, that type of stuff. Then Gen 3, all the Advanced, and Battle Frontier. You go through all of those. Battle Frontier is technically its own separate thing. It's not technically with the gyms and stuff, but we're going to consider it all its own thing. Because also, too, the Final Advanced series, half of it's like it like spills into the Battle Frontier a bit. So like we'll talk about all those as one. Again, it all just being Hoenn. Then with Gen 4, all of Diamond and Pearl, from Diamond and Pearl to Sinnoh League Victors, all in one. Black and White, the whole Black and White era. X and Y, XY1, XY2, XYZ, that's all in one for generation number 6. Gen 7, all the Sun and Moon, Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon, Ultra Legend, Sun and Moon, whatever they were all called, all the Sun and Moon animes, all of Alola, that'll all be one, and then Journeys to conclude it all. I will not be ranking Horizons right here because Horizons currently isn't done, and I feel like as of right now, it would be unfair to compare Horizons with it being a brand new anime with brand new characters, and most specifically not having Ash. I think it would be unfair to compare that while it's not finished to all of these animes with Ash that have been fully fleshed out, said, done, and completed. So that is why I am not talking about Horizons right now. And also, too, Horizons is specifically in English, because that's where the majority of people watch the Pokemon anime. There's been very little episodes in English. There has been a decent amount in Japanese, as we currently sit right now. But in English, there hasn't been that much. Not that many people have even seen it in the first place. So we will not be including Horizons on this list. Once Horizons is said and done, we can come back and insert Horizons wherever we feel it is fit. But what we are doing here today, like I said, is ranking all of this series essentially with Ash. Gens 1 to 8 and seeing which one is the best. I'm going to go in order of Gens 1 to 8. We're not going to go in, they're in like a random order down here. We're just going to go in the order in which they were airing on TV. So with the very first Pokemon anime, the original Pokemon anime, I think this one right here is really driven by nostalgia, because you look at all of this stuff now, one of the biggest things people talk about the new Pokemon animes is the animation. Well, you look at this one, the animation was awful. It was, like, again, I love it because of the nostalgia. The opening is amazing. Just the vibes and stuff from it, it was phenomenal. But, like, looking back on it, like, the original anime, like, it sucked. It was awful in terms of the animation and production quality and all that stuff. Like, I remember there was one scene with, like, the Pikachus jumping off of, it was some ledge. I don't remember if it was on a boat or in a gym, but they were jumping off the ledge, and they just, like, showed the same, like, it was, like, the Pikachus here, jump, and they just did that, like, 5 times in a row. It was just the same 2 still shots, just cutting back and forth in between. It wasn't anything crazy with, like, in the battles and stuff. I mean, they were fine and all that, but like, it was nothing like crazy by any means. It is mainly just nostalgia. I see you guys saying B. I'm not gonna put in B. I am gonna put it in A because it's what started it all. Like, do I think it's a B level anime? Yes, I would put it in B if we're looking just specifically the anime. Like, yes, I would put it at B at best. Although, taking into consideration, it was the very first one. It was the original one that started it all. We wouldn't have any of these other ones if the first one didn't do good and succeed. So because of that, we'll bump it up a tier and put it up in A tier. I think A tier is a good spot for the very first one. And again, this is like, anyone that might be mad about that, this is like the Pokemon, games. We put the first games at the lowest tier because the games just got better from there. It's okay for like the first one not to be up in God tier. We're putting it at A tier. It's a good spot to put it for the very first one. But for the second one right here, we have Johto. Now, Johto, I have always liked that anime, mainly because of the openings. Like, if I'm being honest, I don't have too many fond memories of specifically watching the Johto anime. But I have vivid memories of, like, jamming out to the openings and stuff when they were first when they were airing on TV. Like, I remember watching the openings on TV and enjoying them. I don't really have, like, fond memories of watching the specific anime itself. This anime, though, with Johto, like, it was going into Gen 2, and I feel like Gen 1 and Gen 2 were really awkward in Pokemon as a whole, because Gen 2 is like a DLC for Gen 1, if we're being completely honest. Yes, you have your new starters. Yes, you have your new legendaries, but, like, in terms of, like, Pokemon content, like, like the Pokédex, it's just the expand. It literally I don't know if this has been confirmed or not, but it's like they took the Pokemon they didn't add into Gen 1 and then just made Gen 2 with the majority of those Pokemon that added extra stuff on top to make it look like a complete gen. Nothing against Gen 2. Gen 2 is one of my favorite gens there is. Heart Gold, Soul Silver is one of my favorite Pokemon games of all time. Lugia is my favorite legendary of all time. T-Tar is one of my favorite suitors of all time. Typhlosion is an amazing starter. Steelix is one of my favorite Pokemon. Scizor, Kingdra, Politoed. I could go on and on with how amazing Gen 2 is. But the anime, like, I don't know. The anime, I think, was fine. It wasn't anything that I'm, like, absolutely blown away with, though. I'm going to put it in B tier. I'm not going to put it up at A tier because, like I said, the original anime we put up there because it's the original. Johto, I think, is fine in B tier. I'll put it fine in B tier right now for Johto. I think that's a good spot for it. But then the next one right here, we're getting right into one of my absolute favorites. We are getting right into one of my absolute favorites, Hoenn. Hoenn is my favorite generation of Pokemon for, honestly, one main reason. The anime. I have such good memories of watching that anime, specifically during the summer. I remember sitting downstairs in front of the TV, having all my Pokemon toys in front of me, playing with my toys, watching the anime. Like, it was, dude, it was the best. The openings are elite. The best of the best when it comes to openings. We did the opening stream. I said I might do a different opening tier list stream where we rank the openings by generation. Right now we're ranking it by the anime as a whole, but if we just do openings, if this is just specifically the openings from Hoenn, this is number one, no doubt about it. This is the absolute very best one for openings as a whole. It contains my two favorite openings. But as for this anime, like, I remember the main gyms and stuff, they were fine, they were cool, but the battle frontier is what takes Hoenn to a different level. If I'm being honest, just normal Hoenn, probably A or B, if we're being honest. Like, the normal Hoenn gyms and all that stuff, A or B is probably where it would go. But the battle frontier, where you have Charizard versus Articuno, Ash taking on the battle pyramid, with Torkoal going against the Reggies, dude, it was insane. And also, too, when you go on over into Diamond and Pearl, when Paul hears of Ash beating the battle pyramid and him being shocked by that, that just added aura to Ash and the Hoenn battle frontier as a whole, because it showed how meaningful that truly was. Yes, we go through and see it where it's like, oh, this is just what Ash is doing in this story. But once we heard Paul be, like, shocked that Ash beat it, when Paul was this big bad rival that Ash couldn't beat for whatever means it seemed like, and even Paul's, like, appalled that Ash beat it, like, that just added infinite aura points to the battle frontier right there, and Ash being able to beat the battle pyramid. This one right here, S tier, no doubt about it. Easy S tier for me. Like I said, this is the reason Hoenn's my favorite gen. The anime, the openings, and the toys I remember playing with while watching the anime. It is one of the best. We had we had May, Max, Brock, Ash as the squad. I vividly remember, there's like handfuls of episodes I vividly remember. I remember it was the Grovyle versus the Hariyama. I remember that fight. I remember when Ash went to battle Norman, battling the Slaking. I think Team Rocket pulled up, and the Slaking went just sicko mode and was taking everyone out. And then obviously the Battle Frontier. The guy with the Venusaur was super cool in the Battle Frontier. Obviously, the best Battle Frontier battle is the first one with the Articuno versus Charizard. That was insane. When Charizard's flying over the horizon with the sun rising, coming from the Charcific Valley, to pull up and run ones with a legendary Pokemon, dude, it was absolutely insane. Battle Frontier, Hoenn as a whole, is S tier anime without a shadow of a doubt. Moving on now, we have Diamond and Pearl. Now, this is where we start to get into the ones where I honestly don't really know. I don't know where I'm going to put Diamond and Pearl in relation to the Battle Frontier and Hoenn. Hoenn, I love. Obviously, Hoenn's my favorite gen. But Diamond and Pearl as the anime, this one added something we never really had before, and that was that rival with Paul. I mean, yes, I know you have Gary from the beginning, but to me, Paul was just different. Because Gary was like, cocky and like beating Ash again and again. But like Paul was like different. Like it almost seemed like Gary was like happy with beating Ash. Paul seemed like he couldn't care less about battling Ash. Like it didn't make any difference to him whatsoever. He's like, yeah, it beats you again. Who cares? Whatever. Move on. I'm gonna go battle again. It's like, and then how he was training his guys and stuff. Like I saw a meme the other day. It was like, Paul did the first ever Pokemon Nuzlocke, because when his Pokemon died, he got rid of him. Like, Paul added something to the Sinnoh anime that was unlike anything we'd ever seen in the anime before. It was like almost like a villain type character that it's so different than Gary. I'm worried people are gonna say, "Oh, we had Gary." Like, Paul was so different than Gary that it's like it just added a whole different element and vibe to the anime as a whole. Because, for instance, I look back at the Sinnoh anime, and each time Ash battled Paul, those were like milestone moments in the anime. Those were absolutely insane. Was it at Lily of the Valley Cove was the actual like tournament they had at the end. It was at Lake Acuity. It was one of the lakes they battled at, where I think Ash had Monferno at the time. Chimchar had evolved, and just Paul beat down Ash, and then but everything about that was just kind of you could say the character development and story building with those battles was unmatched by anything we had seen in the anime before. It was absolutely insane. And then at the end, the tournament at the end, I will never forget this for as long as honestly, probably as long as I live. I was gonna say as long as I'm a fan of a Pokemon, but honestly, as long as I live. Ash versus Paul. The final battle in the Pokemon League at the end. We had the back-to-back episodes, the two-part battle of Ash versus Paul, in one of the best battles we will ever see in the Pokemon anime. We should do a tier list of the individual Pokemon battles as well, but that one in particular was just... I remember watching those 2 weeks. It was absolutely insane. Those two episodes back to back, Ash versus Paul, and Ash finally beating Paul. And it wasn't just Ash beating Paul, it was the way in which he beat him. Infernape activating its ability, Blaze, and going insane against Paul's Electivire. You guys know how much I love Electivire. Electivire is one of my favorite Sinnoh Pokemon there is. And then Ash's Infernape going the Blaze mode, going toe-to-toe with the Electivire and taking it out in the end. Dude, it was peak Pokemon. Especially at the end, the final attack. They're both standing there, and it's like the freeze frame. Everyone's waiting to see what happens. Infernape almost falls. Then Electivire collapses to the ground and loses. It was amazing. I don't know, though. Do I put it above Hoenn? Because here's what I want to do. I would want to put it below Hoenn because I love the Battle Frontier. I loved Hoenn as a whole. The openings, I think, are better in Hoenn. But because of what Paul brings to the anime, because of that final battle versus Paul, it has to go up here into S tier. Above Battle Frontier, at the top of S tier. And one last thing I want to add about the Sinnoh anime. Tobias. Tobias was a cheat code. Ash should have won that whole thing and not had to battle someone like Tobias. But he did have to battle him nonetheless. And he didn't pull up with his main team he used against Paul. He used a bunch of Pokemon we had seen him with in the past. For instance, he pulled up Gibble. That was a Pokemon from Sinnoh. Then he brought in the likes of Heracross. Then he brought in Sceptile as well. Sceptile went down as one of the biggest dogs, goats, legends of all time because of that battle right there. Sceptile took down a Darkrai, then Pikachu ran ones with a Latios. Yes, Ash lost, but that made for one of the craziest battles of all time. And that is why Diamond and Pearl Sinnoh is at the top of S tier. Then we go to Black and White. Then we move on to Black and White next. And Black and White is just, how do I say it? A disappointment. Black and White was a disappointment. We had Sinnoh with Diamond and Pearl, and it was just, like I said, the battles were electrifying. The openings were good. And you had Paul that added something we had never seen before in the anime and just made it just that much better. And then in Black and White, it seemed like almost they tried to replace Paul with, what was that guy's name? I don't even remember his name. He had the blonde hair, he had the orange jacket, and he had the superior. Now, I see some of you guys say, I see some of you saying Black and White was overhated. Like, I do think it was overhated to an extent. It wasn't as truly bad as it was. I think Black and White's in a bad spot, though, when we look back on things. Because you look at where Black and White sits. And you look at the other elements of Black and White, too. For instance, Black and White brought back EX cards to the TCG. Black and White introduced full art cards and full art trainers to the TCG. Black and White introduced full gold cards and then the silver cards to the TCG. The Black and White era of the TCG might be the most influential era of the entire TCG. We ranked all the TCG's eras before. I'm pretty sure I said this before. The Black and White era is the most influential era on the entire TCG. The Black and White games, Black and White, Black 2, White 2, in my opinion, the best Pokemon games of all time. You have the most, like the big three, the anime, the games, and then the cards. It has the most influential era of the cards. It has the best games of all time. But then the anime was just the worst. The anime was just awful. The anime was, it compared to those, it couldn't mount up to it. And because of how it was, because like I said, you have the big three. You have the anime, you have the TCG, you have the games. The games, it is the best of all time. The TCG is the most influential of all time. And the anime was just lackluster. Like, I don't want to say it's bad. I feel bad saying it's bad. But, like, compared to the rest of stuff going on during Black and White, it makes it look worse than it really was. And then you look at where it sits in the anime. It comes just after Sinnoh and just before X and Y. There's literally no hope for the Black and White anime. I'm putting it down in C tier. Again, it's not F tier, it's not D tier, but like it is, I think, the worst of the Pokemon animes. I don't think there's any question about that. And also, too, yeah, what they did with Ash, that was just, I mean, they made Ash just giga dumb in that one. Like it's like they cut half his brain off. Like it wasn't that great. It wasn't that good. It seemed like it was set up for failure from the jump. Then what you have what they did with Ash is just icing on top. Like it ruined it. It just made it bad. Like at the end though, seeing Charizard at the end fighting the Dragonite and stuff was cool. In the Japanese anime, they teased Charizard pulling up and fighting Reshiram. That would have been insane. We never got that in the anime though, but it was. There were parts of it that was good. I did like it. I liked Iris and Silent. I think they were cool, but like for the most part, like yeah, Black and White was just almost destined to fail, it seemed like, if we're being completely honest. But then we move on now to Kalos. X and Y and XYZ. I'm just gonna say it. This is the best Pokemon anime we will ever get. No question about it. XY, XYZ, Gen 6, the Kalos anime is the best one there will ever be. No Pokemon anime that comes in the future, I don't think will ever be able to top this. Unless they do something of Ash as the champion, and he goes back and battles all these other people and stuff, and does some like crazy show with that, which I don't think anything like that would come for years, seeing they just ended Ash's story in the anime. But I'm just going to say right now, nothing's going to top this. Nothing will ever top X and Y. X and Y is the best Pokemon anime we will ever have. When I say X, Y, X, Y, Z, all same. Gen 6, Kalos, it's all one. How it started with you have at one of the first episodes, Ash climbing to the top of the tower in Lumio City for the Garchomp. Just go watch that scene. Ash's demeanor, maturity, the music, the intensity, just everything about that. I'm getting chills talking about this. Everything about that episode was just different than anything we had ever seen in the Pokemon anime before. That episode set the tone at the start and made us realize early on, wait. This is different. Right here, we have something special. We've never seen anything like this before in the Pokemon anime. This is actually insane. Ash's whole everything about him. Everyone says he was so much more mature. And it was the best version of Ash we probably ever got. Because it seemed like he was a bit older. He didn't seem like a little kid anymore. He seemed like he was a bit older. And then it made for some of the best stuff we've ever gotten. You look at the rest of the people with him. Clement, Bonnie, Serena. I personally think my favorite crew we ever saw with him, because each member of that group had their own storyline. They had a beginning, middle, and end. With Clement not wanting to be the gym leader, then battling Ash as the gym leader, then the stuff with the Clembot at the end, then him deciding to go back and do all this stuff. Like everything that happened with Clement, he had this whole story arc in the anime. You look at Serena. She had a whole story arc as well, not knowing what she wants to do, going out on this journey because she saw Ash. Then she has the kind of contest and stuff she took part in. Then she got offered by the biggest, top lady of the contest to do them with her. She said no, decides to go off and do her own thing. She ends up traveling to Hoenn in the end, and that whole ordeal with all that. So, she had a full, fleshed-out story arc with her as well. Then you have Bonnie as well. Yes, she's a little kid, but, she still had her own thing there. She wanted a Pokemon. She had Dedenne, then she had Squishy and all that stuff. Then even at the end, when she didn't want everyone to go and all that stuff, at the airport, that whole scene there, everyone there had a full story of their own while also still being part of the big main story. I know a lot of people say, oh, Misty, Brock, they were the best group, but Misty and Brock didn't have a beginning, middle, and end of their own story in any of the regions we really saw them with. Brock wanted to become what a Pokemon, I don't even remember what he wanted to be, but he wanted to become something, but we never really saw him achieve that in the anime, or necessarily even make big strides and steps to come close to that. Every other character up until this point was kind of just a side character that was just there supporting Ash. Now we had a cast and crew that were not only there supporting Ash, how we've seen the characters in the past, but they also had their own things that they were doing and their own development and their own stories that were unfolding episode by episode. It was unlike anything we had ever seen before in the Pokemon anime. Then you look at the rivals. We don't have that rival from the beginning like we had with Paul and we had with, what his name was, the guy from Unova. I don't remember his name off the top of my head. The guy with the Superior. We don't have that rival from the beginning like we did there. But we would get one of the best Pokemon rivals ever later on in the story. Alon. Now, we wouldn't see Alon, I don't believe, until it was when Sawyer and Ash were battling with Sawyer had Grovyle and Ash had Frogadier at the time. We saw those two battling, and then Alon pulled up then Alon would then become a character in the story from then on, and obviously with the battle at the end and all that stuff, and Alon's role with Team Flare and all that, Alon wasn't just some rival that was there. Paul, he was the rival, that was about it. Alon was this rival, but also had ties into the main story with the villains and Team Flare and all that stuff as well. Again, this multi-dimensional character we had never seen something like before in the anime. Sawyer as well. Sawyer was he wasn't as multi-dimensional as someone like Paul with the rival aspect of it, but still Sawyer had he looked up to Ash, he had his own dreams, goals, and desires, and in the end with him going off with Steven Stone and all that stuff. And obviously I'm a massive fan of Sawyer because of his team. He had a Hoenn team. He had Salamence, one of my favorite Pokemon of all time. Slacking, one of my favorite Pokemon of all time. Sceptile and Mega Sceptile, one of my favorite starters and one of my favorite Pokemon of all time. They did Aegislash, one of the best Pokemon from Kalos, and honestly, one of the best Pokemon of all time. He had Slurpuff and Clawitzer. He had a amazing team. I like his character design as well. Sawyer, and seeing him, he was kind of that rival, I guess, from the beginning, because Alon wasn't. Sawyer kind of did fit that role from an early on rival that Ash had. But it's when you think of it, you don't think of Sawyer as the main rival because you think of Alon. But because of that, it makes Sawyer that much better because I don't know, everything about it. I think Sawyer is the most underrated character in the Pokemon anime. I will note that. I really think he is the most underrated character in all of the Pokemon anime. I genuinely believe that because you look at Sawyer, because literally what I just mentioned, when you think of the rival of Ash and Kalos, you think of Alon, but it was actually kind of Sawyer from the jump, right? Sawyer was when we saw him, I mentioned with Paul, how each battle with Paul was a significant battle throughout the series, and each battle with Paul was a significant turning point in the story. Sawyer kind of was that as well. And then the battle in the end. I've talked about this before. We're gonna do a tier list of this eventually. I'm getting chills talking about this already. The best Pokemon battle ever in the anime. I just mentioned Ash vs. Paul. Obviously, Ash vs. Alon at the end when Ash unfortunately lost. Ash versus Sawyer. Mega Sceptile versus Mega Greninja. I think that's my favorite battle ever in the Pokemon anime. I think that might be number one. Now, when I rank them, I am going to go back and watch each of them. I will note that. We might be able to watch them on stream. I might just have to take the stream right down afterwards. I don't know how that will go. We will figure that out once we get there. But vividly, I remember the animation. Mega Sceptile using Frenzy Plant. The Frenzy Plant vines and leaves and roots going everywhere. Ash Greninja darting through them and doing Water Shuriken and all that stuff. Like, dude, if you haven't seen it, go on YouTube, look up Ash vs. Sawyer Pokemon League or like their big battle at the end. Like, it was, I think, one of, if not the best Pokemon battle we'd ever seen in the anime. It was absolutely insane. Then looking in the rest of the series as well, the gyms were all really cool. And also some of the story development as well. Like you look at Ash and Greninja after losing to the Ice Gym, then their character development from that and coming back and battling it again. We had seen stuff kind of similar to that in the past, but nothing to that degree where it was like the biggest, like you could see, like that was the biggest, most significant turning point of their like story together and journey for like their relationship and development as characters in this story as well. I have so much more stuff to talk about from this. Ash and Mega Greninja, or Ash and Ash Greninja versus Diantha and Mega Gardevoir. For those that recall, at the beginning of the series, we saw Ash and Diantha battle with Gardevoir not Mega Evolving and Ash using Pikachu, and Pikachu getting absolutely clapped. Then later on in the story, we would see Diantha Mega Evolve Gardevoir and go against a unmastered Ash Greninja. And Ash Greninja were beating Gardevoir. They had that thing on the ropes. They were smoking that thing, but I think Team Rocket pulled up and ruined the battle or something like that, and we didn't see the end of it. Ash was beating the champion halfway through the season without even having his ultimate form of his ace Pokemon mastered. Greninja was still in the water. It wasn't even like Ash Greninja. It was still surrounded in the water and all that stuff. Not fully mastered Ash Greninja almost beat the champion and her ace Pokemon while it was Mega Evolved. Like, that is one of the biggest feats in the anime. I think that isn't talked about enough. I mentioned this when we were doing the opening tier list as well. It was just amazing. And then with Froakie, how Froakie didn't want to be with anyone, then he wanted to be with Ash and stuff, and he joined Ash, and then how Froakie and Frogadier evolved, then seeing Frogadier use the Kamehameha over on that, like, ninja village and all that stuff, and I think that's where Frogadier evolved, if I'm not mistaken, as well. And then in there, we learned the lore of Ash Greninja, like, there was some secret, like, legendary Greninja that was super strong of that village. I hope we learn some more about that stuff in Legend ZA as well. Hopefully we get some more in-depth and context with that, but, like, dude, then at the end, too, everyone's always so upset and salty that Ash lost. And I get it. I wanted Ash to win, too. His team there was my favorite team he's ever had. Goodra, Hawlucha, Noivern, Talonflame, Pikachu, Greninja. Like, that was my favorite team Ash has ever had. No doubt about it. Like, it was just... that team was amazing. It would have been so fitting to see Ash win at the end. And everyone says type advantage. Greninja's not super effective against Mega Charizard X. He's a fire dragon, making him not super effective again, or not weak to water. So let's just just set that aside. But like, dude, it would have been so good if he won. But if anything, the fact that he lost, it left it on the table for him to win again, and then in the next anime we would see him finally get that win, and then that win would then transition into journeys and all that stuff. So I in the end, I like how everything played out. In the moment, do I want, or would I have wanted Ash to win? Yes, absolutely. Would I have wanted Ash to win the Kalos League? That would have been insane, but he unfortunately didn't, and he lost to Alon. But even though with him losing, it made for one of the best battles of all time in the Pokemon anime. Like, I'll just say right now, some of my favorite battles ever: Ash vs. Paul, Ash vs. Sawyer, Ash vs. Alon, then Ash vs. Leon in the big championship battle. Those are my 4 favorites just off the top of my head right there. And that Ash vs. Alon battle was just, it was amazing. It was insane. Like, Talonflame versus Unpheasant, like, dude, the aerial battle like that and those two having a draw, that was insane. Then in the end, obviously, Mega Charizard X versus Ash Greninja. My favorite Pokemon of all time, Mega Charizard X, going against, my favorite starter of all time, Greninja. One of my favorite Pokemon of all time, Ash Greninja. My boy, Ash. Like, dude, it was... the XYZ anime is the best Pokemon anime we will ever see. unless they do something with Ash as being the big champion, going back and doing some Ultimate Champion tournament, that type of stuff that blows Journey's Masters 8 tournament out of the water. Unless they do something like that, nothing will be able to top XYZ. That is number one. That is the best one of all time. We have 2 left here at the end. I see you guys saying some stuff in the chat. I'll come back. I'll mention that at the end. We'll come back and talk about that a bit more. But now we move on to Sun and Moon. I like Sun and Moon for a couple of reasons. One, everyone else seems to instantly hate it. Now, why did everyone else hate Sun and Moon? Everyone else hated Sun and Moon because the transition from Ash from X and Y to Sun and Moon. We just talked about how Ash and X and Y was the, you could say, like, most mature version of Ash we had seen, the most grown-up version of Ash we had ever seen before. I say the best version of Ash we had ever seen. How he acted and also how he looked. Then you go to Sun and Moon. The change in the art style. Ash looks different. Ash acts different. And everything about him just seems different. It seems like going from Sinnoh to Black and White again, where except this time from going to Sinnoh to Black and White, taking 1 step back. A lot of people said we took like 18 steps back in Sun and Moon. But let me tell you guys this. That's kind of like, that was the general hate that came out at the start. And anytime there's change in Pokemon, now, anytime there's change anywhere, people complain and get mad. I feel Pokemon fans as a whole, whenever there's big changes in Pokemon, they're the biggest crybabies in the world. There's no denying that. People cry and complain about absolutely everything there is whenever there's something new or change in Pokemon. Now, at the beginning, I will note, oh crap, it reloaded. Give me a sec, we gotta refix it. At the start of Sun and Moon, I was like everyone else. I was a hater. I thought it was bad. I hated Ash. I didn't want to watch it. I thought it was stupid. I was like, I'm not watching this thing. But I would eventually watch the Sun and Moon anime. And I watched the Sun and Moon anime at the very start of Sword and Shield. Because I watched all the Journeys episodes on Netflix. I'm like, I want to watch something. I'm like, you know what? Let's go watch Sun and Moon. I remember not liking this before. I know Ash ended up winning in the end. Let's see how it actually played out and what the anime was actually like. This is one of the best Pokemon animes there is. This is one of the best Pokemon animes there is without a shadow of a doubt. Remove Ash. Literally, like, and here's the thing. I've grown to like Ash in the anime. I've grown to like Ash in Sun and Moon. I think Ash is good in Sun and Moon. Yes, I do think he's good in Sun and Moon. I do like him in Sun and Moon. Although a lot of people don't. So I will say this to those that don't. Remove how Ash is in the anime. Now, I know he's the main character. This might be hard for some people. But just try not to hate on Ash in the anime. This is one of the coolest animes we've seen. Yo, AJ Jr., thank you for tuning in on Twitch. I appreciate it. I hope you have a good one. This is one of the best animes we have seen for the Pokemon anime. This is the anime we see Ash become a champion for the first time ever. This was him winning the tournament at the end, becoming a Pokemon champion. This was him getting the biggest step towards becoming an actual Pokemon master. This was the first time not only Ash won a region and won a championship, but this is the first time Alola ever had a champion. Meaning, Ash winning here made him the champion of Alola. Like we have Lance in Kanto, Diantha in Kalos, you have Cynthia in Sinnoh, Steven Stone in Hoenn. Ash is the champion of Alola. Like, because he won that tournament. And another thing, too, like, the build-up to that tournament, everyone was talking about, like, oh, Ash and Gladiator are the 2 strongest trainers on the islands. Like, they're the 2 best ones here, no doubt about it. Like, everyone knew Ash was him and Ash was the strongest. This wasn't like Sinnoh to Black and White, where Ash... seemingly they made him deliberately worse. Like, Ash was still just as strong as he was in X and Y in the Sun and Moon anime. And how we saw the Sun and Moon anime, it wasn't like the gym battles and stuff. It was like I don't specifically remember what they were called, but like the Tapu, or not the Tapus, it was each Tapu their own like challenge and tournament and all that stuff on each island and all that stuff. It was so cool. Then the stories of how Ash got each of his Pokemon. He ended up getting the first one to have the Dusk form Lycanroc. He had my boy Rowlet, obviously. The story of how he got the Litten with the Stoutland and all that stuff. Then him getting Meltan, then it evolving to Melmetal. Then him with Naganadel and the League at the end. Like, everything about it, man. The Sun and Moon anime is hated on too much. The Sun and Moon anime is one of the best Pokemon animes we've had. I'm putting it at number 2. I don't want to put it up in God tier with XYZ, because that one's up there on its own. That is the best. Actually, I'm going to change the name of this one. We're changing the name of this one from God to the very best. That's up there at the top. That is the... Wait, why did it not save? Can I save the name? Can I change the name? Tier list maker. The very best. What? It won't change the name. There we go. Yeah. Okay, there we go. Yeah. XYZ deserves to be up there at number 1 as the very best. And it's going to be up there by itself. Sun and Moon is just below it at the top of S tier as being, I think, the second best anime of all time. As of right now. We still have one more to go, though. We still have one more to rank. But like I said, Sun and Moon as a whole, I feel the Sun and Moon anime was hated on too much. People hate on Ash too much and how he was there. Just remove that from your mind if you're an Ash hater and just watch the anime as a whole for what it is and enjoy it, because it is one of the best Pokemon animes we have ever had. Ash became his first ever champion there. Ash became then the champion of Alola by doing that there. And the Pokemon he had, the team he had, the other characters there, him being part of the Poke School and all that stuff, Kukui and all that, like everything about it, man. The Ultra Beasts, it was so good. I love Sun and Moon. It's one of my favorites, without a doubt. But then we have the final Pokemon anime, including our boy Ash Ketchum. Pokemon Journeys. Now, at the start of Journeys, we didn't know this was going to be the last one with Ash. We had no idea this was going to be the last one with Ash. Although, how the story was progressing, with them not going through the gyms, with him actually being in Kanto the entire time for like that home base and stuff they had, and then traveling all over the different regions. Then we started seeing him battle trainers and stuff we've seen him battle with in the past. We saw some flashback scenes to previous battles and stuff that he had. We saw him enter in the World Tournament, the Masters Tournament, it would be at the end. But we saw him entering the Pokemon World Championships. Like, and seeing him progress through this, it was like, okay, this is gonna be it if Ash ends up winning the whole thing. So at the start, though, we go into it with the question of, like, is this going to be Ash's final anime? And we go see and start watching the episodes. I remember watching these so vividly on Netflix in English. Then I caught up to them in English right away because I believe it was in groups of 12. They added them, like it was each season, essentially, they gave a whole, or it was every 12 weeks. Rather than airing it weekly on like Cartoon Network or something like that, they aired it in every 12 weeks, they aired 12 episodes at once on Netflix. And I thought that was really cool to watch because it was on Netflix, super easy to watch. I was able to watch the anime and stuff whenever I wanted. I watched the Journeys anime super, super quick, caught up to it, started watching it in Japanese. And this was like the first anime since, I think since Diamond and Pearl that I actually sat down and watched weekly every time it came out. It came out on Fridays, if I'm not mistaken. And at least that's when I remember having it. It might have been, I don't know if it was legal or stuff how I found it, but I found them on Fridays. I remember Friday night sitting there watching the Pokemon anime of Journeys every single week and just loving it, man. The team they gave Ash, obviously you had our boy Pikachu. He's always going to have Pikachu. But then they gave him a Lucario that would then be a Mega Lucario. They gave him a Gengar that would then be the Dynamax Gengar. They gave him a Dragonite, they gave Dracovish, and they gave the Leek Lord himself. Like, it's literally like the people that made Journeys thought, what are some of the most popular Pokemon, not only in Pokemon, but Pokemon that fans have wanted to see Ash have for years? Lucario, Gengar, Dragonite. Let's give him all three of those on this one team. It was like, and then from the beginning, once he acquired those three Pokemon, that's when everyone started to think like, oh, this is going to be Ash's final season. He's making the best team we've ever seen him made with before. Now, I will note, the Kalos team is still my favorite. That one has my heart. But the Journeys team was special, man. The Journeys team was cool. I loved the episode with the Leek Lord, which is Galarian Farfetch or Surfetch, when he battled the Girder and broke the Girder with a leak. Dude, that was insane. Then all the battles, kind of having like Bay be Bay, whatever, the fighting type gym leader from Galar, having her be kind of like the rival type stuff for Ash, you can say. That was super cool to see a different dynamic than what we have seen in the past with a lot of rivals. And overall, just everything about it. The Masters 8 tournament at the end, the build up to it, having Go there. A lot of people hated on Go. I liked Go because it gave so much to the story as well. Because we had Ash, who was like, they couldn't make Ash be this inexperienced trainer. that didn't know anything, because obviously he's the champion of Alola at this time. Like, and also too, they didn't completely, I'm going to get back to what I was explaining, but they didn't completely abandon and forget about the stuff in the past. Typically, like in most of the animes, is like, they act almost like the previous seasons didn't happen. In this one, they always kind of went back to previous seasons, making it seem like this was actually like the timeline in the story. And also too, this is the first confirmed time Ash aged, because, Kukui and, Burnett, they had their child. So, like, Ash, he had to have aged at least, 9 months or whatever it is. So we had Ash age for the first time ever in this. But in this one, we had Ash as, like, this, like, experienced trainer that was also, like, goofy and funny. But, like, when it came to the battles, you could tell, like, oh, this guy's got years of experience. And then you would Go as, like, the new guy to, like, getting into Pokemon and all that stuff, and, like, catching all these things. We want to catch all these Pokemon and catch Mew. He has some crazy outlandish goal, like Ash did, of Ash wanting to become the biggest Pokemon champion in the world. It's like, but to be at the top, to do that stuff, they have to have, like, those delusional goals and stuff. Everyone made fun of Ash. You could say made fun of Ash at the beginning for wanting to be the Pokemon champion. And now we're seeing him, like, actually be at that point to be the best trainer in the world, be the very best. And now we have Go kind of, like, starting his journey of wanting to catch everything and wanting to catch Mew. We're seeing him catch all these cool Pokemon and stuff, and it provided an instance where we had that, like, new kind of, like, novice to Pokemon with Go, but at the same time, you had that experienced character with Ash, and the dynamic between the two, I thought, was just amazing. A lot of people hated on Go. I thought Go was one of the best characters we've ever had in the Pokemon anime, if I'm being completely honest. If I did a character tier list, Go would be up there towards the top for me. I really, really liked Go. The only thing I don't like about Go is he didn't show up when his boy was in the big grand tournament battling Leon. Go didn't catch Mew at the end. Ash became champion at the end, and his boy Go wasn't there. That's the only thing that I don't like about Go. But going into that tournament as well, the Masters 8 tournament, the excitement I had for that was unmatched. That was the most excited I've ever been for anything ever in the Pokemon anime. The Masters 8 tournament was amazing, man. The Masters 8 tournament was phenomenal. Building up to it, like, we're getting a tournament of the champions from all the regions, the strongest trainers we've ever seen before, all go at it in one tournament. And it made for some of the best battles we've had. But at the same time, there were some lackluster battles. Leon versus Alon, that sucked. Make Alon put up a little bit of a bigger fight than that. Ash versus Steven Stone. How much plot armor do we got to give Pikachu? Obviously, we know Ash needs to win, but, like, they could have had Pikachu get beat down that bad. Like, that battle was awful as well. But then there were some really good battles. You had Iris versus Cynthia. Mega Garchomp going toe-to-toe with Haxorus. That was amazing. You have, the Diantha and Lance battle. That was really good. Diantha, Cynthia. That was good. Cynthia, Ash. That was good. All of these different battles were, Diantha didn't battle. Wait, did Diantha battle Cynthia? How many rounds are there for each one? I gotta think. Hang on. It was Masters 8, so it goes 8, 4, 2. So each trainer battles 3 times if you're in the finals. No, Diantha didn't battle Cynthia, my bad. Diantha battled Lance, then Diantha battled... Who did she battle? I don't remember each battle. I apologize. I don't remember off the top of my head. But nonetheless, Diantha beat Lance, I remember, in the first round. I don't remember who she battled in the second round, though. But... Oh, she battled Leon. No, she battled Leon. That's who it was. It was Leon, Diantha, and then Cynthia, Ash. That was the semifinals. That's what it was. But every battle in there, dude. Those ones towards the end, like the Diantha Leon battle, that was good. Ash Cynthia was fine. It was cool seeing Ash battle Cynthia, and like Cynthia acknowledging, like, it's not like she had never met him before, like she acknowledging that she knows him and all that stuff and doing all that. Cynthia saying it was gonna be her last battle and all that type of stuff, and having a change of heart afterwards and all that. Like, everything there was so cool. But everything built up to that final battle. The final battle with Ash. The battle against the big Grand Master Champion, the undefeated champion of the world, the strongest trainer in all of Pokemon. Ash versus Leon. Donde, if you may. This battle right here is why I put Leon as the best Pokemon champion there is. Leon is the undefeated champion, the undisputed GOAT at that moment in time in the Pokemon anime. He has this guy that is on the come up to beat him, that says he's going to beat him. They battled earlier on, and Leon beat the piss out of him. Ash Gigantamax Pikachu didn't know what was going on, and Leon won. Like, it was a no effort, no difficulty battle for Leon right there. And it's like that meme you see people say, or not necessarily meme, that thing you see people say. It's like that one, there was the fool that said they were one day going to become the king, and everyone laughed at them except the king himself. It's that same type of thing with Leon and Ash right there. Leon's the king, and Ash is the one that is saying he's going to beat him, and everyone's like, yeah, right, this guy's the undefeated champion. Then in the end, when Leon is faced with that guy, when Leon is faced with the dude that has been working towards beating him this entire time, he has all his stuff. And by the way, in the opening as well, when Ash has all his things, the Dynamax Band, the Mega Ring, the Dynamax Band, the Z move, and the Mega Ring, dude, that's one of the coolest scenes ever. Ash is like, F it, anything goes. That's what he's doing. But then when we go to the tournament finals and the build up to it, the commentators in the anime are saying, well, I'm getting chills talking about this. They're saying, what is Ash going to do? Is he going to Dynamax? Is he going to Mega Evolve? Is he going to use a Z move? Because he only can use one. Everyone's like, oh, what is he going to do? What is he going to do? What is he going to do? And Leon says, hold up, time out, wait a minute. Let's do anything goes. Ash, use whatever you want. If I beat you, I want to know that I beat you at your absolute strongest. The referee said, wait, we can't do this. They had to call the higher-ups and say, hey, can we do this? And like, it's Leon, let him do it. They had approved Leon to do it, and Leon's like, let's roll. Anything goes for the climax of climax battles. The biggest battle, the biggest feat, the biggest battle we will ever see in the Pokemon anime. Ash versus Alon. I messed that up. Ash versus Leon. Anything goes. The biggest, grandest battle of all time. Leon's and Teleon's out there dual wielding. Ash's Gengar Dynamaxes. Pikachu uses a Z move. And Lucario Mega Evolves. It doesn't matter though, because Leon has his giant Charizard as well. But none of that mattered, because in the end it came down to Pikachu versus Charizard. Now, a lot of people hate on Leon having a Charizard, specifically during the Sword and Shield. They're saying, oh, there's too much Charizard. It was the perfect ace for Leon to have, because you go back to the beginning of the anime with Ash and his Charizard. He sent it to Charcific Valley. It was his big powerhouse, but it wouldn't listen to him, so because of that, like I said, he had to send it to Charcific Valley. We saw the Charizard come back, and every time we saw the Charizard come back throughout all these different series we've talked about, it was some of the coolest moments ever. For instance, Charizard and Dragonite, Charizard and Articuno. It made for some of the coolest moments ever. Charizard and Pikachu are the two biggest Pokemon in the world. They're the two mascots of Pokemon. So for Ash to have his main Pokemon be Pikachu, and then Leon to have his main Pokemon be Charizard, it was literally perfect. It was written in the stars. It was absolutely immaculate and absolute pure perfection. And for that final battle to come down to this straight up battle between Charizard and Pikachu, the animation with that battle, it wasn't the whole battle, the crazy animation. It was that final moments of the battle between the two. That's the best animation we've ever gotten in the Pokemon anime. Even better than the Sawyer Ash Greninja Mega Sceptile. Better than the animation of that. This was the best animation we've ever seen in the Pokemon anime. And then you have the scene at the end when Pikachu's about to lose. Then the flashbacks of all the different teams, man. And then him coming back and beating Leon in the end and beating Charizard. It made for the best finale we could have absolutely ever had for the Pokemon anime. Then at the very end, we got another finale of Ash kind of going back and doing everything, which I will note, I haven't watched those yet. I don't know if anyone else does this. It's almost like, I've done this with a couple of shows, like, I haven't watched those because it's like, it's not over if I don't watch them. Like, I don't want it to end. I don't want Ash's story to be done. And if I never watch them, I always know I still have those to watch, so it's not technically over. But then if I watch them, it's going to be over, so I don't watch them because of that. Like, that's kind of the point I'm at right now with that. It's like, I do have to watch them. I will watch them eventually, but it's like, I've almost been, like, nervous to watch them because I'm like, that's the end. I've seen bits and pieces and clips of it and going back and seeing some of his old Pokemon and stuff, but it's like, Journeys was the perfect conclusion for Ash. I see a lot of people hate on Journeys. I'll see a lot of people hate on it. A lot of people don't like it too much, but I personally think it was the best way to send Ash out in the anime. It was just... I'm getting chills talking about this stuff, man. Journeys was just the opening, the time in which it was on, it being during the greatest heights Pokemon had ever seen before with the TCG during the pandemic and all that stuff. Pokemon cards being sold out worldwide or nationwide. It was insane. But where do I put it on the tier list? Do I put it above Sun and Moon or below Sun and Moon? You know what? I'm putting Journeys above Sun and Moon for now. I'm putting Journeys above Sun and Moon for now because that battle at the end with Leon, because of how much I like Leon, and because of how much I enjoyed watching that anime as it aired weekly. I'm putting Journeys at number 2. Do I put Sun and Moon there, though? Journeys had amazing openings. Sun and Moon had amazing openings. Ash became the first, like, he became the first champion of Alola there. But then in Journeys, he's the established champion of Alola, and we see him become the world champion. I have to put, Journeys is the last one with Ash. I have to put it at number 1. Above Sun and Moon. But X and Y, as we know, is the very top. It's the very best. It's the absolute best. But that is all then for the Pokemon anime tier list.